Bruce, they got to their forecheck a little bit, but not as prolonged as they did in Game 2. What were you guys doing in the neutral zone to perhaps reduce how much they were getting to it in Game 2?
Well, we were a little tighter in general, but I just think we did a better job getting back on pucks. 4 guys that weren't the first to touch it made sure they supported well, whether it was a little bump. We mixed in some long rims. You got to win those battles, get them to the neutral zone, start your forecheck there, create a few turnovers. That worked out well for us a lot. So credit the wingers doing a good job on the boards. I thought Tuukka's touches were excellent, allowed us a little more time. So sometimes it comes down to puck placement, Fluto, and I think tonight, clearly we were able to get back on it, make some decent plays from where it was placed. So a little more ozone time in the first period. You get a lead. That puts teams on their heels a little bit. So I think there was a number of different things that led to why we were better in that area.
Right side, third row.
Bruce, as good as your power play has been in the playoffs, some of the guys were saying they really weren't happy with how it was going in the first 2 games in this series. Was that something you concentrated going on, and did you have to change some things coming into this game that you did better?
We worked on it yesterday, and they're right. Ozone play in the – we scored 2 goals before tonight, both on entries. We've really focused on entry scoring, worked against Carolina. We try to exploit certain areas if we can, but ozone, I thought we were forced a lot of plays, didn't recover pucks well. When we did, we didn't have the support. I thought that goal was a good example. The Krug scored, we worked to get it back, we recovered it, we found a seam later, or maybe right before that. And just some of the things we've done typically well all year. The face-off play is a set play. We've run some certain looks. We have a real trouble getting it into Bergeron in the bumper from the half wall, so we tried it from the top as a nice tip. So some of the things we tried work. Doesn't always work out that way, but tonight they did. And then we got a break. I think Torrey's winning off their stick, so sometimes you got to get lucky if you shoot it, and we got all those things.
Right side, fourth row.
Coach, over here, a lot of guys on your team have been there and done that. How much do you think that experience and that championship pedigree, if you will, allowed you to absorb what the early crowd noise and all of that, and allowed you to win?
Well, a lot. I mean, listen, every building's loud this time of year, typically full. We live that in Columbus. We lived it in Toronto, lived it in Carolina. Not to this magnitude of the finals, but that's where our veteran guys have in Vancouver and Chicago in years past. So they kind of set the lead for that. We still had some young guys late in the second period there. We, got a little cute, I think, where that's where the understanding of our veteran guys rub off on them, how to play the right way, how to play winning hockey. So we got away from it a little bit as the game wore on, but give them credit. They're going to have their push. But early on, we were ready to play. And I felt we would be because of the guys that have been here and done it, because we tend to respond well after a loss. So did I think we'd score 3 goals in the first period? No, but I thought we'd be ready to play and at least, be in the game, be a competitive first period. They happened to go in for us.
We can do 3 more questions. Right side, fourth row.
Bruce, during the long layoff that you guys had, you were talking about Torrey, and one of the words you used was you thought he was underappreciated at that point. Do you think he's still underappreciated?
Well, hopefully not in Boston. Certainly not in our locker room. Never has been. But I think that when I said that, it was in the context of he's an offensive defenseman. He's a power play specialist. And I think people don't realize how hard he is when he wants to play that, a physical game. And he does play big minutes now lately against good players with Carlo. That's something that changed a little bit. We used Grzelcyk in that role a little bit last year. Johnny Moore had some of it earlier. So Torrey stepped up. And he wanted that responsibility, be a second pair type guy behind Z playing good lines. And he's met the challenge. And that's where I was saying, I think he's done a really good job that might fly under the radar because he's still getting his points in the power play and making plays.
Left side standing up, Matt.
Coach, over here. You talked a lot about the power play, but have you ever seen a power play go 4 for 4 on 4 shots on goal? And does this serve as a bit of a...
No, I haven't, to be honest with you.
Good. And does this serve as a confidence booster for a unit that's already been unbelievable here in the postseason?
I think in terms of confidence, they know that they have the ability to score and generate offense. They hadn't the first 2 games, very small sample size. It was talked about. They're not going offensively, and one of the ways you get going offensively is to finish your chances and to get going on the power play. We've talked about that. It's not unique to our team. Most skilled guys, if they get to feel the puck in the power play, things start to happen. I think it bleeds into the 5-on-5, although I thought they started well 5-on-5. Pasternak had a great look through the seam. you know, they were controlling back to their plays where they were covering pucks, changing sides, making an east-west pass and on net. And that's typically their game, you know, working to spots. And so it might have been the other way around. Maybe their 5-on-5 play early, you know, helped them get going on the power play.
Last question, left side, second row.
Bruce, looked like McAvoy took one off the knee maybe with 2.5 to go. Do you have an update on him?
Oh, he's fine.
He's
No
fine.
issues there.
And defensively overall, what did you think about your guys' ability to, A, block shots, but also keep them really out of the paint area, out of Tuukka's way? What went into that?
Well, I think that's typically how we play. I mean, big guys like Giancarlo, Charlie, they make it hard to get in there. You see Clifton, he's a battler. We talked about Torrey. So I think that is part of our MO all year. The blocking shots, that's characteristic of our team. That's why Chris Wagner's out. Kevin Miller missed a lot of time this year because blocking shots, so that's just something we typically do. I still think they got in there a little bit. I mean, they bumped into Tuukka, it looked like at least 2 or 3 times. So they're clearly trying to get in there and work. I mean, their first goal, they got in tight. So, I mean, that's what you got to do in playoff hockey. I thought we did a better job, you know, not allowing those grade A chances. Some of that's puck management, Dan, too. You simply don't turn it over so they get it, beat you to the slot. So I think that goes hand in hand, and our guys are just playing with more urgency tonight. You know, we go our way the other night, so we respond. I fully expect Wednesday, you know, the urgency level for us is going to have to get even higher because they're going to, you know, I suspect they'll respond. That seems to be the way the series is, even though it's only 3 games in going, and typically how it would go, you know, when 2 teams get together. So that'll be the message tomorrow, not to get ahead of ourselves, but that's kind of, we expect them to be harder that year, and we'll have to be the same.